All right, number 5.1 can definitely be confusing. So let me just go over how it is. It's not that hard, but it's definitely tricky when, yeah. So they give us this formula, f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. And remember, that's f of x. It's a function, right? It's not f times x plus h. It looks like it, right? Parentheses means times, but f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. And then they say use that to plug in these other equations into that, and then simplify until you can plug in h equals 0. So h is a number, and we want h to be 0, but you can't divide by 0. So we want to do some algebra so that we can get rid of the h in the bottom, so we can divide by 0. And the reason for this is the biggest formula in calculus and differential calculus. The first semester when you take calculus, this is what it's all about. And so this is pre-calculus, right? So it's a warm-up for that. So it's just practicing using this formula because, again, it plays a huge role in, it's the basis of all of the first semester of calculus. Okay, so let's look at A here. So A says use the formula f of x is x squared minus 2x. F of x is x squared minus 2x, right? So our function which has an x in it, that's what f of x means. Our function which has an x is this. Now we want to plug it into there. So the way you do it is, everywhere you see an x in this function, for when it says x plus h, you plug in an x plus h. Okay? So I'm going to use this to plug in f of x plus h. So here's an x. So instead of x squared, I put x plus h squared. I replace the x with an x plus h. And then here's another x. So minus 2, and everywhere there's an x, I plug in x plus h. Okay, so again, what I did was I took the x, plugged in x plus h. I took the x, plugged in x plus h. That is the f of x plus h part. Now I do the minus f of x part. So I just go minus this thing, minus x squared minus 2x. Okay, so this is f of x plus h, and this is f of x minus f of x, and then I divide all that by h. Okay, so again, all you do is you plug in x plus h for x in the function that they give you, minus just the function the way it's written, and then divide it by h. And now we got to do a bunch of algebra to simplify it, so we can cross out the h. So we got to square all these things, be careful with negatives. So this squared is x squared plus h squared plus 2hx, right? So h times x, 2 of those, minus 2 times x, minus 2x, minus 2 times h, minus x squared, but then plus 2x, right? Minus x squared minus minus plus. I think I did that right. Divided all that by h. Okay, now let's simplify all that. I'll just do it over here. So let's see, hopefully a lot of things cancel. That's actually a lot of things will. That's the beautiful thing. We have an x squared minus an x squared, so those go away. We have a minus 2x plus a 2x, so those go away. And all we have left are things with h's. So we have, let's see, an h squared left, an h squared plus 2hx minus 2h, all divided by h. Notice everything in the top has an h in it. So we can factor out the h, factor out one of the h's. So that would be h, right? Because h times h is h squared. Take out the h here, we just have a 2x left, plus 2x left. Take out the h here, we have just a minus 2, and then divide it by h. Now the h in the top cancels out the h in the bottom, which means we can finally plug in h equals 0 if we want to. So on the top, we don't have a denominator anymore. All we have left is h plus 2x minus 2. If we plug in h equals 0, so I can plug in h equals 0, we get 2x minus 2. And that is called the derivative of our function. The derivative of x squared minus 2x is 2x minus 2. That's how you find the derivative, by using this formula. Okay, so the idea again is, the trickiest part people have a hard time with is this f of x plus h minus f of x. you just plug in wherever there's an x, you plug in x plus h, and then then you just subtract the formula, do a bunch of algebra. You'll always be able to cancel out the h in the bottom. Then you can plug in h equals 0, because we can't divide by 0, but once we get rid of the h in the bottom, plug in h equals 0, this goes away, we're just left with 2x minus 2. Okay, so let me do, let's do one other one. Now we'll do two other ones, actually. So let's look at maybe, I don't know, D or something. Let you guys do B and C. So look at D, 4 minus x squared. Our function is 4 minus x squared. So everywhere there's an x, we plug in x plus h. So we have 4 minus, oh, there's an x, so it's x plus h squared. Okay, that's f of x plus h. This is f of x plus h. Minus f of x, minus 4 minus x squared. All right, minus f of x, and then we just divide that by h. Okay, so f of x plus h, everywhere there's an x, is the 4, there's no x, so it just stays a 4. But, oh, there's an x, you replace the x with an x plus h squared, right? Okay, now we do our algebra. We be really careful with negatives. Everything in here is going to be positive because it's x plus h. So it's all going to be negative because it's minus. So minus x squared minus h squared minus 2hx minus 4 and then plus x squared. And then divide it by h. Okay, good things will happen again. They always do. Plus x squared minus x squared. That's the only, 4 minus 4, that's nice. 4 minus 4 goes away. All we're left with is negative h squared in the top, minus 2hx, that's all, divided by h. Again, we can factor out an h here. So in the top, we can take an h out, and then we have times negative h minus 2x divided by h. h's cancel. Now we can plug in h equals 0. If h equals 0 here, we're just left with negative 2x. So the answer would be negative 2x. Okay? So again, that's the tricky part, is always just plugging in. Everywhere there's an x, you plug in x plus h. Then minus the function just the way it's written. I like to use parentheses because it's minus both parts, right? Minus 4 minus that one, which makes it plus. Okay, let's do one more. Like letter F says, hint, rationalize the numerator. Okay, that's kind of tricky. So I'm going to do one similar to that one, and I'll let you do F. Okay, but this is like F. So I'm going to make one up because this is the hardest one. And I want you to practice on your own, but still. And I'll use a blue pen for this one. So let's say our function has a square root of 2x plus 4. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. So everywhere there's an x, we plug in x plus h, then we minus the function divided by h. So we have square root, there's an x there, so I plug in x plus h, 2 times x plus h plus 4 minus f of x, 2x plus 4 divided by h. Okay. This looks like a mess. It is a mess. All these square roots.
Sorry for the interruption, all staff. Stephanie and Megan, can you guys let me know if there's enough chairs or tables in that room when you're done? Thank you.
Okay. There's enough chairs in the room. All right. So when they say rationalize the numerator, they mean we got to get rid of this square root stuff. That's just ugly. And the way you do that is they call multiplying by the conjugate. The conjugate means the same thing, but with a plus sign, because then you get rid of cross terms. If you have the same thing, like a plus b times a minus b, then it's just a squared minus b squared. Right? You guys studied this before. Let's practice doing that. If you have a plus b times a minus b, the same things, but a minus sign on the second one. Or in this case, we already have the minus sign, right? So we have the minus, same deal. Minus plus, this is a times a, which is a squared, a times b, which is ab, negative b times a, which is minus ab, put the a first, negative b times a, and then negative b times b, which is minus b squared. Notice these go away, so it's always just a squared minus b squared. So if you multiply the same things together, but one is a minus, one is a plus, it's always the first one squared minus the second one squared. Okay, so, and if you square things, you get rid of square roots. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to multiply this by the exact same thing, 2 times x plus h plus 4, but now plus that. Now, you can't just multiply something by something, that changes it. So you got to multiply by 1. And that means we got to multiply it by the bottom also, because then we're multiplying by 1, because the same thing over the same thing is equal to 1. So that's kind of the bummer of it. You got to multiply the bottom by that too. But this is equal to 1, right? Same thing over the same thing is equal to 1. So you can always multiply by 1. That's legal. All right. Now, the top is going to look great, okay, because we have the same thing multiplied by the same thing except the minus and the plus. So it's this squared minus this squared. Okay? And squaring just gets rid of the square roots. And I'm going to multiply this out, 2x plus 2h. So on the top, we have this squared, which just means no square root, minus this squared. So we have 2x plus 2h plus 4 minus this, so minus 2x plus 4. Okay, this squared just gets rid of the square root, minus this squared, get rid of the square root, and I just multiplied 2x times 2h there. And on the bottom, we have this ugly thing still, h. We have the h from the original one, times this stuff. So I have to use parentheses, so you got to write all this again. It's a lot of writing, but that's okay. It's good for you. Plus square root of 2x plus 4. All right. Now, on the top, good things always happen. We get to cancel some things out. Let's see. 2x minus 2x, the 2x's go away. And I have 4 minus 4, so the 4's go away. So all I have left on the top is 2h. And I'm going to do it right here to save some writing. That's all we have left at the top, right, is 2h. And the h then cancels out the h in the bottom. Okay, the 2 stays there, but the h's cancel, right? H divided by h divided by h is equal to 1. You just kind of get rid of them. Okay, now we can plug in h equals 0. Right, we're not dividing by 0 anymore. Now we have an h left, which is right here. That's the only one. That's the only one. So we can plug in h equals 0 for that one. And when we do that, notice that these two things are the same now. Right, if h is equal to 0, then, well, I'll just write that out. So on the top, we only have a 2 left. Right, the h went away, everything else canceled, we have a 2. On the bottom, we have the square root of h is 0, so that's just 2x plus 4, 2x plus 4, plus square root of 2x plus 4. So like I say, these are the same thing now. That means we have 2x's plus 4, so I have 2 divided by 2 square root of 2x's plus 4. Well, those cancel, the 2's cancel, so I'm left with 1 over square root of 2x plus 4. Remember, when they cancel, you don't get 0, you get 1. It's like we divided the top by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, divide the bottom by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we have a 1 on the top, 1 over root 2x plus 4. So that is the answer. That's called the derivative of our original function. Derivative of the square root of 2x plus 4 is 1 over the square root of 2x plus 4. Who'd have thought? Okay? But that's the exercise here. And it's an important thing. Again, it's using calculus a lot. It's just you have to get used to plugging things in, the x plus h thing, and then canceling out. It's good math exercise. Get rid of the h in the bottom, then you can plug in h equals 0. Okay, the one you have for f is similar. It's square root of x minus 1. You do it the same way. This is called multiplying by the conjugate. The conjugate is the same thing, but with a plus sign. Something minus something times something plus something. Or if you started off with a plus sign, it'd be with a minus sign. All right, that's how you do 5.1. Good luck finishing those. Goodbye.